Whereas on backline, he is still learning. Very good, but so natural there. And I think he really went above and beyond the performance that he showed even in group stage.
Yeah, let's just face it. His Rhaegar needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, I think specifically Rhaegar. He might not play it anymore, you know. Rhaegar got nerfed. If you just tuned in, welcome, by the way. Gold Club World Championship. But we are using the new patch that we haven't used in the group stage. Came out about halfway the group stage. And all the supports have changed, mostly about 5% power removal, with Rhaegar specifically taking a bigger hit, losing that double lightning shield from Lightning Bond.
Yeah. Now all the players here, especially Bad Benny, who has a role swap, they are committing also a lot of time to playing on the Chinese server here in Hero League, just to make sure that they get their positioning, their mechanics right. And of course there's scrims going on between the teams on a daily basis. Even today, before the teams headed towards the water cube here, all of them had scrims lined up just to warm up for the matches, make sure that they are also finalizing a few drafts and see what they can play here. In this case now, we have once again on Cursed Hollow, Fnatic's map choice, Abathur banned out early. As we said in the group stage, or towards the end of the group stage, Hero is currently seeing a lot more attention than he did before, especially from the Korean teams. But that's also something that all the Western teams are starting to acknowledge, and that's not only by picking the hero themselves, but also by an early ban here. In KSV, they are banning out Lucio first of all, so that allows them to go into ETC, which most of the time in this tournament we have seen that.
Yeah, and Fnatic generally saved Abathur ban till the second ban phase. They're elevating that priority, letting Tassadar go through. Fnatic in the grand finals against KSV in BlizzCon 2017, they banned Tassadar first twice, and they also banned Tracer twice. Now letting Tassadar go through. You know, there's just some maps where they don't fear it as much. And once again, a very hyper-aggressive composition from Fnatic. Very mobile, Genji and Tyrael.
Yeah, Tyrael is one of the heroes that always makes it into these offline events. We had very few exceptions where Tyrael was not a high priority at an offline event, especially when it included the international teams, when it included the Chinese and also the Korean teams who really love to play around sanctification and aggressive plays. The hero on this map allows you quite a few advantages around boss plays in particular. Every on-point battle that you have to fight is something where Tyrael can absolutely excel thanks to sanctification. But also his holy ground on level 16 gives a lot of value here. You can control the small choke points around bosses and tributes very nicely. Ideally you split an opponent's team in two and can then deal with isolated factions. But at the same time, boss control is what you really aim for here.
Some other boss control tools that Fnatic has as well. One of the few teams during the Gold Club World Championship that is still looking at Falstad. Now this Genji is probably Quacknix, so not sure Falstad is still going to be coming out. I think Breeze played a fantastic Tyrael last game as well. A bit more of the unsung hero, I suppose. Yeah. Just doing, you know, never getting called out, doing what he must. Vision control, slows, movement speed buffs, great sancts. And he's going to be replaying that one again for everyone's enjoyment.
Now, personally, I'm really curious to see how Fnatic just gets their next few picks in, because I found the adjustment on the side of KSV super interesting, saying, hey, we are going to ban out Lucio first. With the drop of Rhaegar because of the lack of wave clear that he now has, or the diminished wave clear, we have Lucio rising even higher in priority. It was a problem for KSV on the last map in teamfights, so with KSV banning it out and then taking ETC to deny that to Breeze, Fnatic with Genji has now a hero that doesn't have to deal with the sound barrier on the other side. So there's a lot of arguments made for Genji having a huge impact, and I feel KSV hovering just a second ago, Uther just caters to that, because it's what we've seen before Lucio was, so to say, discovered as a great counterplay to Genji. Everybody was just trying to get Genji and Uther in the same team so that you have Dragon Blade together with the Divine Shield. And in this case, KSV is saying, well, we don't have Lucio, but we're also not going to give you Uther, because that would just be making it a little bit too easy.
It's also interesting because KSV has very low support bans. Among all the teams, some of the lowest support bans in the game, and now they're starting to look at that with that double ban, and it just gives me the giggles to imagine that Menace Uther might be counterbanned here.
Also think about it, we just had a patch that just nerfed all the supports, and what happens in our second game that we see in the competitive stage, we have more support bans than ever before.
They just keep taking more and more punishment. But it makes sense, because when all supports get nerfed, you're more likely to see single support comps. And that means that if you remove the specific one that might be needed for the opponent team, you are able to get a greater result. Now KSV can still take Ana. Ana Li Ming, one of their favorite pairings, and the fact that Fnatic would rather ban Tassadar when there are no obvious Tassadar pairings yet tells me that they would actually kind of like to face Ana. Despite the obvious strength between Li Ming and Ana, Fnatic let it go through and removed Tassadar instead.
I feel one of the reasons why Fnatic banned out Tassadar here as well is that they know there's the potential for Illidan to make an appearance on, in the draft. And that is something that can be extremely frightening in the hands of any Korean team.
Or Tracer, I guess.
But Tracer also an alternative, but when we talk about Rich here, he could show some impressive Illidan plays again. Now, Ballistics was able to deal with that quite nicely, but I personally feel that was more so because Jongha just played out of his mind on Dehaka and really had Rich's number. So in this particular setup, I feel that's actually the reason I feel why they didn't ban Illidan directly, what you just mentioned. Yeah. Because if you ban Tassadar, you have, so to say, a soft ban against both, against Illidan and against Tracer. So in this case, it's something that teams have opted for in the past. We have, for now, KSV heading into Dehaka and Brightwing, and with Fnatic committing earlier to Greymane, which combos, of course, exceptionally well with Tyrael. We mentioned that on the first map. We have now Muradin, so the double front line, and we're going to see the solo support here for them.
Yeah, if Fnatic chooses to play with the support. They all got nerfed recently.
I'm pretty sure there's a decent chance we're going to see support.
So let's see. Brightwing, Dehaka, very high global content from KSV.
Yeah, at this point it's just, okay, Smexy, what do you want to play? Rhaegar is still out there. You could commit to something along the lines of Morales, which in this particular setup I would say is going to be, would be a rough choice.
Yeah,
just
Dehaka
because of
from
positioning.
behind.
Exactly. There's just too many tools that KSV has. So that would be quite the statement if you're willing to play Morales into this lineup.
It seems Rhaegar is the most obvious choice.
Yeah.
Had he not been nerfed with Lightning Bond, it would have been snapped up already. Morales is rough. Ana is... I mean, Fnatic did solo support Ana in the finals of BlizzCon, but I don't think they'll do it again.
There's always the chance of a Stukov. Stukov has seen a rise in the tournament. And I think if you want to commit to any kind of potential one-shot combination, Stukov is really your boy. Because he waits for the stun, he drops the silence, and if you commit to Cursed Bullet on Greymane, you can try and get that immediate kill. So I feel that was probably the toss-up for Fnatic here. There's very few choices left in terms of supports. I don't think that Morales was ever an option. That leaves us with Rhaegar and...
Lili. Got some buffs.
Okay. Lili is also out there. Yeah, but I think the choices that were probably going through their head at this point were Stukov and Rhaegar. We've seen both of them play quite a bit in the group stage. And it just at this point depends, I feel, okay, how do you play it? And I think one consideration here was, first of all, Emerald Wind as a disengage on the opponent side. And then also the potential palm on Karazim if a one-shot combo was executed by Fnatic. Them just saying, like, you know what, seven-sided isn't really an option here. As long as we survive the one-shot approach, we are fine. Let's go into palm. Karazim plays a little bit more passive, throws it out, and then we re-engage. So I think in this case, that was probably a little bit of the thought process on their side.
Now we have Genji with Tyrael. We have Rhaegar giving Lightning Shield to Muradin, making Muradin a big threat. Single support by Fnatic, whereas KSV has... maybe not so much into the team fight, but they have some cool plays that they can make in fights. You've got Karazim being able to Radiant dash in with a Brightwing teleport on him for a potential Brightwing Emerald Wind bomb. Then you've got potential triple global, ETC, Brightwing and Dehaka, though ETC can go into Mosh Pit. And you've got, of course, Karazim seven-sided, like you said, Li Ming's power, all to focus someone down, together with the Dehaka Drag Tongue, Polymorph, and ETC Power Slide. KSV with a kind of kill comp plus global, whereas Fnatic has more of a swashbuckling comp, like very teamfight oriented, pretty good wave clear across the board, but also that strong Genji Tyrael pairing.
And this game is going to tell us really a lot, because Fnatic taking the first win is a big problem for KSV now. If on Cursed Hollow Fnatic is successful again and KSV falls behind with an 0-2, then even a cheese or something that you don't expect in the new patch can just seal your fate in the series. It's actually also interesting because when Roll20 looked at their own bracket, they said, well, maybe our recent loss was in the group stage was a blessing in disguise, simply because we expect Fnatic to not make it through here, and we would rather face Fnatic than potentially either Ballistics or Dignitas. So they were actually pretty happy about their bracket. If Fnatic somehow takes down KSV Black, I think Roll20 is going to reconsider that statement. Yeah. Because right now, that first game, I have to admit it, that throws me off a bit, and I think KSV Black is also worried now.
Yeah, and just to paint that picture, we've got, of course, 4 teams in the lower bracket, CE versus BTG, Roll20 versus SBT, and it's Roll20 SBT that will face the loser of KSV Fnatic. And like you said, sending KSV into the lower bracket against one of those, if Roll20 should make it past SBT, is a pretty scary picture for them.
Yeah, that would be quite something, wouldn't it? So, every fiber of my being and everything that we've seen in this tournament says, can that really happen? Is that a thing?
It's just one map so far.
Yeah, but still, it's the first map immediately. So, KSV, they have... Every time I talk to Saki, he says, we are the favorite here, solely on the matter alone that we have the longest standing roster. We have so much synergy, we are such a unit that for every other team that is at the tournament, it is a problem facing us, simply because we are the only team that didn't really change from all the favorites that attended the tournament or from the teams that also went to BlizzCon. So right now, they are super confident, and them losing the first map, that has to at least annoy them a little bit.
And now they're going to Cursed Hollow. Fnatic, as of yet, is 100% win rate on Cursed Hollow in this tournament. Have picked it more than 3 times in the group stage so far. Have beaten KSV on Cursed Hollow at BlizzCon as well. This is a good map for them. It's their choice.
Every time I see these zoom-ins, I detect new details that I usually don't care about. So it's always fun when our observers homing on them. And talking about also a few details, we have Bad Benny this time on Tyrael. So we were praising Bree's first performance on map number 1, Battlefield of Eternity, for how well he played on Tyrael. This time with Muradin being in play for them and them running a double warrior, he decided to have Breeze on the main tank. Bad Benny is now going to take over Tyrael, so he has an opportunity to also show his skills there in comparison with Breeze.
Yeah, let's see how he does there. We can also see that Smexy on Rhaegar has gone with the bonus movement speed on Ghost Wall form. 130% move speed instead of 120. And this is the first time that we see this new talent prioritization on Rhaegar. As for the most part, it pretty much has been Lightning Bond.
We have also for Li Ming Power Hungry on level 1. We've been highlighting a bit earlier that we saw the Force Armor taken on Battlefield of Eternity, simply because you don't have quite the same access to regeneration globes that you do on 3-lane maps. And in this case, so the switch back immediately. Breeze also with third wind here, just making sure that when he gets poked down, he can just move back, stay a few seconds out of the fight, and then re-enter again, so Rhaegar does not have to focus as heavily on keeping him alive as the other heroes.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a good talent. Mass rapid regeneration when you're low specifically. The alternative would be block or bonus damage. We can see that Hooligan from Team Ballistic specifically likes to favor the bonus Stormbolt damage, 5 damage per hit, but
Koreans in general really love that.
Right?
Where every single time I talk to a European player about it, especially Breeze, has a very vocal opinion about it. He says this talent is absolutely useless. Even if I get a lot of stacks together, it basically just equals an auto attack or 2 for my hero.
Like 200 bonus damage at the mid-late game.
So, yeah. And he just simply says, what would I rather have? Moving out of the team fight for like 3-4 seconds and then being able to re-engage, or it equaling like 1 or 2 auto attacks. He's just like, that's totally not worth it. So he's very vocal about that. But the Korean teams, they love that extra damage because they are, of course, aiming oftentimes for these immediate insta-kills.
Yeah, and with their very good mechanics, maybe if you never die, then your survivability never matters, and then a little bit of bonus damage might just make the difference. Just stylistically very different. Now we can see that the siege camps become available at 2 minutes. Greymane gets in position. Traditionally, this might be Rhaegar with Lightning Totem. And then you get that double Lightning Shield damage, but now it's going to be Greymane. He'll generally be about 30-40% life after finishing that camp. Get a globe, and got that siege camp pushing. Now the first tribute location is fairly random. It spawns between 2 minutes 15 to 2 minutes 45 seconds, and it can be north or south. Generally, you want the tribute to be on the side that you're defending the opponent's siege camp. This is good for KSV. They can now defend that camp, get in position for the tribute, and that means that Fnatic either arrives in force and bullies KSV out of this camp very rapidly, or they could just give up the tribute. And it looks like they're going to go with the bully approach.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of damage to Kyocha. Oh my god, he even get their kill as Genji is there in time. And that's also thanks to him going for the agile dismount on level 1. Great talent if you want to traverse between lanes. And in this case, Quacknix was able to move in just in the nick of time to confirm the kill. Brightwing can still zone in once she comes back though, so she can still teleport in. That is a bit of an issue here. We have globals on the side of KSV, which Fnatic just simply doesn't run in their own setup. That's something to consider for the late game in particular.
Yeah, it's one of the least impactful kills if you want to create space. Brightwing early game due to that teleportation. Brightwing has decided to go top to empower the push up top.
It's a good point that you make, and once that Brightwing was dead and I looked at it, I was just like also, alright, I was way too hyped for that kill actually. I mean, it was a great kill, don't get me wrong, but the impact that the kill normally has in that situation was instantly diminished by me realizing, oh, wait a second, she didn't even commit to teleport yet, so that she's going to be back in the fight if needed, and Fnatic realizing that as well, played it a bit safer, did not fully commit to that particular tribute and let KSV have it then in the end. But it brings me back to something that I briefly mentioned as Quacknix confirmed the kill, and that's the agile dismount. It's going to be such a fantastic talent for them when they try to put pressure onto the lanes, with Genji in particular, since you can just traverse between lanes so much faster. And you also have, of course, while using your trait, while mounted, not only the range increase, but also a cooldown reduction. So that's going to make Genji pretty annoying when you find yourself in a solo lane. You can definitely roam from lane to lane and put the pressure on.
Yeah, cool thing is it goes from a 10-second cooldown to 5. You also get that spell power from the level 7, so you can use a lot of spell power periods. I think it's like 40% for 2.5 seconds.
50, yeah.
50%, very useful against reset for Genji to stay alive. And it brings Fnatic bring a lot of people to clear the middle bruiser camp. They've got their own camp pushing as well. Very advantageous position for the tribute once again for KSV, and they set a very cool trap. Yeah,
they have the trap here. Couldn't they get the kill? Oh, yes, they do. Even with the cleanse coming out, they get it. And that's actually good for them, because you were absolutely right. The position was advantageous, but they had one problem, and that was the camp that was pushing through the mid lane. So they needed to react to it, and that trap was absolutely beautiful to make sure that this doesn't get any value for Fnatic, and they actually get the second kill afterwards now too. So that allows Bad Benny to use Tyrael's Ghost form to simply take out a minion wave, but we still have a bit of pressure towards the top, and whoa, Rich, great connect here against Mena, who this time plays on Greymane. So yeah. Both of the teams still heading into level 10, but that situation and that kill against Breeze was pretty annoying for Fnatic considering.
Yeah, KSV needed to make it happen fast, like you said, because of the camp, and they did it perfectly.
Yeah, the timing of the camps was pretty cool, because Fnatic, the way they grabbed their own camp, they grabbed it a little bit later, which is traditionally what you want, because what happens is your opponent's camp shoves into your towers, and then you can defend with the help of your towers. The opponent's camp is defended, and the timing just works out that all of a sudden your camp can safely push through, and then your opponent needs to make that choice. Do we give up a tribute? Do we simply let it push through and get a few towers? But with KSV's trap, they completely sidestepped this entire approach by Fnatic and ruined a solid minute of work.
Yeah, and another thing that worked out well for Fnatic is they recognized the next tribute is going to be top right, as it is now, in a defensible location for them, and at maximum distance away from the siege camp. Fnatic made sure to capture the siege camp quickly. It is almost pushing at the bottom lane. Fnatic is representing a defense here of this tribute, but in the meantime, two of them were setting up to take out Rich on the Haka. Murden and Genji. Didn't work out though. They're going to rotate up rapidly and make it a 5 versus 5 once the Haka burrows in. But the sooner Fnatic can force the Haka Brushstalker up, the better for them, because their siege camp would stay alive, and they have a problem at the top as well.
Yeah, sometimes we see teams just simply accepting a curse in situations like this, but for Fnatic it's a little bit of an awkward spot to be in. I also want to highlight Tist, how he really made sure that they got some free damage against Tyrael once that he went in to interrupt the tribute channel. That was really well done by him, just controlling all the points where Benny could have potentially gone. But we find ourselves in a position where the Haka burrows in. Breeze with the immediate stun goes for the Avatar as well. The fight has started as Rich is eating a lot of damage here. Mena is getting hit by the drag, but the cleanse is immediately out there since Smexy is in spot.
Really good play by Fnatic here. Moshpit on two people though. Ancestor comes out on Greymane. Blow up on Genji. KSV did this so well. The setup, the map control and everything. Saving the Haka bottom lane long enough to deal with the siege. Allowing their own siege to push in. Drawing back and making Tist the only focus target. And then the Haka disruption on Rhaegar. Isolation. Dragged on Greymane, forcing out the cleanse, and then the mosh pit, when everyone was looking at something else. Fnatic got double mosh pitted, were unable to prevent that. Keep in mind, the only way to deal with mosh pit for Fnatic is for Muradin to be caught outside of it, storm bolted, or to cleanse someone and allow them to walk out, or a sanctification to the side of Moshpit to save the victims on that side. Not an easy deal, and a big burden on the side of Breeze in order to keep away from Tist. Something you generally don't want to do as a warrior, to keep away from the opponent's warrior.
And the next problem is, of course, that without completing your quest talent on Muradin, you only get the single stun, and KSV did a fantastic job trying to shield ETC the entire time. So at this point, we are seeing KSV just absolutely running with an advantage here. They have a 2-level lead right now. They have taken down every single fort on the side of Fnatic. Only the keeps remain, and Fnatic is, thanks to the curse and the team fight, in a really dangerous spot. Now they realize that KSV is committing to the boss at the bot lane, and that immediately forces a reaction out of them. They commit to their own boss all the way at the top in time so that they should be able to safely take it, but the rotation is going to be there. It would actually be a little bit closer than expected, but KSV is just simply saying, let's push through the bot lane, try to see if we can maybe open up the wall, can maybe even get a bit of damage onto the keep with the boss, and of course, ideally, take it out entirely.
So KSV are showing that they're grabbing the siege camp first. They had two options, do the siege camp or clear the wave and get the towers. They kind of did a middle way of both, slightly inefficient, but ultimately still a very good idea, trying to get a little bit of damage on the towers, allowing those siege to ally with the boss to do a massive push. The goal is the keep. If KSV can secure a kill, it might be core. A lot of pressure on Fnatic here.
Yeah. I don't think that it can actually... well, at this point, Sank already used. They're trying to go in. Bullet comes out, gets the damage in. They're trying to save the keep here for now. We have Bad Benny moving back once more. Rega with the heals. And the keep is being attacked here. The siege shine in the back are just like the cherry on top of the cake. We have once again Fnatic trying to engage in, but the keep is down already with the boss being very low. We are having KSV move back, but that experience advantage alone is so beautiful for them. 2-level lead still, and of course them homing in on level 16 now as their next talent. This is just fantastic.
Pristine execution by KSV, did exactly what they needed to do and nothing more. Not going too greedy. Small buttock clenching moment there as ETC power slid in through a sanctification. Cursed bullet came out, but ultimately he got away. An Emerald Wind was still available. KSV are now starting to set up for that level 16 and painting the map as blue as possible in order to keep Fnatic away from that which they would love to do the most. Fnatic in this situation with a keep down, with 2 levels down, but equal talents would normally like to force a fight. But the Fool is the team that allows that. Rather, you apply pressure in different places with the Mercams and prevent that fight from ever taking place. KSV is in control of this map.
At this point, for Fnatic, the one thing that works in their favor is they just got cursed. So there's no tributes on the side of KSV, which means they have a fair amount of time to get level 16 talents. It's the biggest time window that they will have in this game once they reach or gain the next 2 levels and are on equal talents with KSV again to force a fight and try and win it. The bosses are just taken, there's no curse pressure against them, so they can and have to sit tight for now, try and gain experience on the lanes. They're not going to try and force a fight here unless they see a one-shot potential or potential gank on the map. So they're just going to sit there, get all the experience, and then at some point, once they hit 16, try and go into a battle before KSV even has a chance to get their stock talents.
Whereas KSV, they would like to make use of this bruiser camp, the talent advantage. This can be one. Oh, nice cleanse there on Breeze. At this stage of the game can be very passive for the winning team, as there isn't that much to do. There are no Mercamps, no tributes, but naturally you should see a vanilla-style push at this time. As much damage on the keep as possible.
In an ideal world, KSV wants to poke and go for it, but at this point, Tist is in trouble, and oh my god, barely gets away. Here comes the Ancestral. Even Sanctification has been utilized, and now we are seeing Fnatic going in. They're taking the fight, even though they don't have the 16. Tist fails the mosh here, but Bad Benny is low and might fall. He dies. Can he get the value from the explosion? They're trying to go for Sake. Sake is low, and he goes down as the Stormbolt confirms the kill.
Quacknix goes down as well on the left. Beautiful Symphony by Fnatic in order to dodge the mosh pit, to get some value out of the Tyrael explosion as well. It is a 2-for-1. Well done by KSV, but still, every kill trade gets Fnatic closer to 16, and this now allows them to be that level on time for the final tribute.
And this was a really dire situation for KSV as the engagement happened, because what they did really well was carry the fight away from the keep and then completely capitalize on the talent advantage they had. But if ETC falls, and it was close.
It was so close.
Then it's a very, very different fight here. Of course, then again, Moshpit also didn't hit anybody as KSV was trying to turn it around here.
Right, everything can go better or worse for either team, and that's definitely recognized as both of these teams are performing to the best of their abilities. But it doesn't take away, it was very close. ETC 4% life, calculated, not 100% sure, but KSV gets away with that. Now the next tribute, a curse point for KSV. If they take this, they will pressure every lane, maybe get a keep, but even if they don't, they will likely get double boss control out of this. Fnatic, for their part, cannot let this happen.
Fnatic needs to take the fight now. This is the most important fight of the game for them, since they will not hit the Storm Talons as quickly as KSV does if this is an even trade. This is a potential curse. KSV also is in a spot where they don't really want to let this tribute go, because they're not that far ahead in experience that they're saying, yes, we're going to hit level 20 soon. They're going in here once more, trying to go for a bit of a one-shot, but already Breeze being cleansed again, and that's the Avatar on his side. Brightwing already with the Emerald Wind. That's a lot of cooldowns used on KSV's side, as we have Fnatic starting to go deep. Bad Benny in particular wants to go for the isolation. They get the kill against Karazim. It's a 5 versus 4 in Fnatic's favor. The Drag connects with Breeze, but they are still not done yet. They get the Stormball out against his. He moves away. Quacknix gets hit, but the Ancestral is there, and now here comes the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, Quacknix had to use Dragon Blade also as a mobility to get away. Sanctification comes out. Second kill on the Haka. Fnatic get the double kill. They are still down in level, but they are now have the ability to get a tribute and maybe the boss, or maybe even more kills. Tist, power slides out. He gets the safety. KSV here buying for time pretty hard, actually.
Yeah, Mena on Grey Main has to be a bit careful, but he's still fine here. Great moves on all sides from Fnatic in particular during that battle. They needed this win, and it gets them a lot closer to KSV, but they are still behind by an entire level, and they have not a lot of pressure against KSV. The one thing they have is a 20-second window in which they can commit to a boss, but KSV knows that as well, and they are posturing around immediately.
Now, Fnatic had a potential choice to go for the top boss, but instead they did not want to trade. Instead they decided to protect bottom left boss. And it's actually pretty cool, because the obvious choice for Fnatic is to take that top boss, and that means that KSV can get their own boss. Stormball only Ming! Instant deletion!
Great kill against Li Ming here, and that was great for Fnatic. But yeah, you are absolutely right. There's two bosses on the map, so the big question, of course, why do they not go for the top boss? And the answer is simply that with them already losing the keep at the bot lane, the bottom boss is immediately going to march towards their core. And KSV has enough tools to make that an effective core push, especially with Brightwing having disengaged tools, Li Ming as well, and also ETC threatening that mosh pit. So Fnatic was forced to go down to the bot lane. They cannot allow a boss trade, but now they secure themselves the bottom boss. There's another tribute spawning. There's still a boss up at the top lane that they could opt for. That kill against Li Ming, that was pure gold for them.
And KSV didn't expect that. Fnatic has been playing pretty smart. Quacknix calls. One really cool thing that Fnatic did last game is play around the power slide cooldown. When Tis tried to blow up Muradin and the cleanse came out and Muradin stayed alive, Fnatic used the next 10 seconds when power slide moshpit is not available to start a full-blown war against KSV. Look for them to play around it like this, because power slide moshpit is the #1 threat against them.
Now Fnatic is looking at the top boss now, and they have still a couple of really cool tools. So does KSV though. Fnatic has Sanctification, and that is a big tool in their arsenal, but the problem is that KSV has global heroes, and that means the Haka can help defend the boss at the bot lane and still join the fight at the top if it happens. So right now, Fnatic is in a spot where they have to really think about this move. They are going for it.
Thought about it, did it.
Thought about it, did it, and KSV was threatening, but they then said, guys, if we lose this fight, the game's over. And Fnatic was willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
The situation that they're in, they're still behind. They don't want level. Their problem is, if they don't take the boss, KSV is going to wait for 20 and then make the move themselves. And that is something they didn't want to risk. So Fnatic said, we're still behind. We have to make a move here. We have a lead already. We have the position as well. And we have with Tyrael a fantastic hero that has Holy Ground and Sanctification. And KSV was not willing to engage into it.
But this is going to be a very sick moment. The boss will take down 2 towers, and that will give Fnatic level 19.8. But they still need to bridge a little bit of time in order to fight over this curse point. This could be the fight of the game so far. We are 17 minutes, 18 minutes into the game now. And KSV gets level 20, 10 seconds before Fnatic does. And they would like to have a fight.
Yeah, they would like to have that fight for sure. The 20 talents are there, and they're pushing them far away, and that's the kill they needed. Fantastic move by KSV. They get the kill against Mena. Grey Mena goes down, and that is now immediately KSV taking not only the curse, but posturing insanely aggressively here against Fnatic. They need to at least get keeps out of this, if not even game.
Yeah, very well played by KSV. They're getting a pick-off kill, much like Fnatic got before on Liming. They get that curse, crucial mistake here by either Rhaegar or Greymane's positioning. They're getting picked off. This gives KSV a keep. Now the good thing for Fnatic is there is no bosses available anymore, so that is away as a win condition. But we still have double catapult pressure on the core, specifically from bottom lane, with a 5 versus 4 situation. And KSV is starting to pull that trigger. Brightwing, with continuous wins, has a lot of core isolation there.
There's the cleanse. Where's the Ancestral? It comes through. They had to commit to the cooldown. Isolation. And here comes also immediately the Moshpit, and Muradin goes down. The Sanctification a bit too late. Now Greymane is back, but the core is taking damage, and quite a bit at that. Already down to 80%. Can they get the kill? There's Tyrael already blown up. He gets a lot of damage onto the members of KSV. Dragon Blade comes in, but we also have Rhaegar falling. And now it's basically down to Quacknix and Mena on Greymane and Genji to stop this from happening, and it does not look likely. KSV Black goes in for the core and ties the best of 5. It's a 1-1 as the Korean team claims victory on Cursed Hollow.
Fantastic comeback victory here by KSV, getting that 1-1 equalizer and dealing with what's basically being ahead of the game for very long. And then suddenly, in the next 5 minutes, are we suddenly losing this? As Fnatic makes a big statement in getting comebacks into the game. But that 10 to 15 second window that there was with level 19 versus level 20, where Fnatic wasn't fully ready to commit to a full-blown team fight, and KSV was, that little bit of experience made all the difference, and it allowed KSV to move forward perfectly and get that kill.
The biggest problem was really to interrupt the tribute channel, and KSV realized that, of course, so they pushed far out right away. They pushed Fnatic back and said, if you want to interrupt a channel on the tribute, you will have to work for it. And I think that was the main reason why Mena stepped forward. He was trying to get a cocktail hit against targets in the back, but that was just the opportunity Tist was waiting for, and the rest of the team as well. I mean, the call was made. If someone steps out, tries to interrupt, we go in on that target immediately. And you're, of course, right. In this case, either you just let them take it, or if you're willing to step forward, your support has to be in position. And it looked very much as if, in this case, Smexy was just not in range. Maybe a bit of a communication issue.
The problem, too, was that wall over that watchtower that forces Smexy to make a decision. Do I go over that wall, or do I come from below where that watchtower is? If he comes from below, he's closer, but he's also isolated. Yeah. And if you go from the top, it is such a narrow funnel. It's so risky. It feels so wrong to go there against the ETC Dahaka when there is that Moshpit threat.
Yeah, in this case, if he was in position, and I think there was a communication problem where he just, either he didn't communicate properly or Mena didn't say, okay, I'm going in right now. Yeah. They weren't in range, no cleanse, no Ancestral, therefore Greymane dies and KSV capitalizes perfectly on it. But up to that point, Fnatic actually made a comeback happen that was quite impressive. Also because they were able to isolate Liming and get the kill that allowed them to take bosses then afterwards. But that is the threat when your opponent hits 16. You might be 2 levels ahead. But if you're far away from level 20, and there's a position on the map where you have to fight for either a boss or an objective, then your opponent has always an opportunity to take that team fight. And it's what allowed Fnatic to come back into the game in the first place. That double kill that we saw up at the top tribute.
Yeah, and you know, I think Fnatic, they made some of the more unexpected calls. Generally, you're 5v3, 2 bosses are up, you take your own, then you take theirs, or you're forced to take their boss and then your own. But Fnatic recognized if they take their own, they will give away the boss. So instead they went to that bottom left location. It gave them the Liming kill as well. But what KSV did really well is continually using the Haka to defend against pressure, to get that experience, which in the end was crucial to give them that level 20 advantage as well. And it has to be said, the coordination between the KSV members when a kill lines up, when that opportunity is there, is just pristine.
Yeah, you can really tell that they have the experience playing as a 5-man for so long. But also, when we're looking at Liming, that was actually one of the moments where they didn't really seem to understand where Fnatic currently was. That kill, from their perspective, should be avoided, playing that a bit safer. But the big asset in their arsenal were the globals. That's in the late game in particular just absolutely amazing. When they defended boss with right wing, can still move in, the Haka before that even. So yeah, the global heroes in their setup definitely gave them a huge edge towards the later stages of the game.
Now we are 1-1 apiece. Fnatic's